This is Talk is Sheep, a podcast by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Come along as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine.
Mr. Hamilton from a snowy Prince George.
Hey, it snowed yesterday, and looking out there, there's still snow on the ground. It's not unexpected this time of year, though.
It is. We're approaching the rut. Yeah, it's going to be white out, especially in the North Country. So, very cool episode that we just recorded with Rebecca Peters, Renée Thornton, Women Hunt, talking about their week in Texas at the FTW Ranch. Pretty cool experience.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like a good time there. Saw some preliminary pictures as they trickle into social media, and yeah, it looked like a good time and sounded like an even better time from that discussion we just had.
Yeah, you can definitely hear the enthusiasm in Rebecca's voice. And for the Wild Sheep Society BC members that are not maybe familiar with this is a program, Women Hunt, that is spearheaded by Renée Thornton from the Wild Sheep Foundation. This is her initiative. And basically, the Wild Sheep Foundation reached out to all their chapter and affiliates and said, we've got 12 spots. We're sending these women to Texas. They asked the local chapter and affiliates at their level to promote it. And also, if someone was selected from their area, if they would sign on as to basically a co-sponsor from them, and help with the mentorship piece as well, find them a mentor and that sort of stuff. So Rebecca was one of the applicants. She was successful and had a great week in Texas. So this is a great opportunity to catch up on that program and hear the great work that the foundation's doing for promoting hunting in the for females and that community. It's really exciting.
I'm really excited to see where this goes. A bunch of new hunters that are essentially given a week-long crash course on everything from firearms to the North American model of wildlife management, right? And they get into it in this conversation. And yeah, just like I said, it's excited to see where this is going to go. Got some pretty dedicated women that I think are going to make some big waves.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Just a little bit of housekeeping on the wild sheep end of things. Our doghouse tents was drawn. Congratulations to our winner on that one. And great donation from Doghouse Tents. Really grateful for their work. And the big news is that our raffles for our wild sheep raffles are up and running. So we got 5 this year going. We've got our Desert Bighorn sheep hunt in Mexico with Sierra Alamo. We've got a Aoudad hunt in Texas. We've got an antelope hunt in Alberta with Silver Sage Outfitters. And then, of course, our Barney Sheep Camp, and then the grizzly bear hunt in Yukon with Midnight Sun. So fantastic lineup this year. You want to get your tickets. We've sold out every year for the last couple of years, so you don't want to wait on these ones.
Yeah, I don't think there's any raffle that we haven't sold out in the last couple of years. Everything from rifles to hunts, and including our doghouse, everything is flying out the doors, and that money goes 100% to conservation right here in British Columbia on the ground. So this is where your dollars are going to count, and you get some pretty awesome chances and some kick-ass prizes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty hard not to support, right? You know that you're getting the chances, like you said, but this is a big part of our funding model for the Wild Sheep Society BC, and it's going to conservation. So yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah, especially with us not even, as of right now, not being able to meet face to face and raise money at our convention, right? This is our lifeline. So yeah, it's a large part and the only part of what we're doing right now to raise money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Steve. Okay, so off to episode
No, no,
48.
no, no. There's other big news in the Wild Sheep Society, isn't there? Something about the president?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What are you talking about, Steve?
Yeah, the president stepped down or something.
Yeah. So, as many of you have seen, we've had a bit of a change with the society. Basically, what's happened is we have brought a full time individual in as CEO to basically provide management leadership for the society. Um, I was serving as president up until October 1st, and on October 1st, we transitioned to moving me into the CEO role. Corey Green is our president. He's moved into the president's role now, and Corey's been with the society for a number of years. Great leader, has done a fantastic job, and he's going to continue to provide great leadership. So basically, as we know, Steve, the challenge is trying to manage this from a volunteer perspective is really difficult, especially to provide that leadership and have someone there full time guiding the ship. So, our board of directors, I got to give them a lot of credit for having the vision to take this step and put someone in that role and somebody that's going to be there guiding the ship day in and day out, and to provide that leadership that, as volunteers, we're all putting in so much time, but there's only so much time with our jobs and everything involved. You just can't do everything and do a good job of it. And we'd grown to a point where, we needed somebody to provide that stewardship and leadership for our organization.
Yeah, you see it too many times. Anybody that's ever been involved in a volunteer-run organization, people go balls to the wall for a couple of years, and then you get volunteer burnout. And that's the big reason for this is we're making that transition. We started out in '98 as a small little organization of half a dozen people that gave a shit, and here we are, smashed through 1,000 members, and we're growing every single day. So in order to continue doing what we're doing, this is something we needed to do. It's best for the society, best for our volunteers, and best for wildlife and habitat right here in BC.
Yeah, well said, for sure, Steve. So obviously a pleasure to lead this great group. Super passionate about what we do, and I just the people that are involved are so dedicated, and to get to work with these people day in and day out and work with our membership to help grow our conservation footprint in the province is it's an honor, and I'm really, really excited to see where we go. I have no doubt that we're definitely going to take this to the next level, and can't wait to do it.
Yeah, we've got some big things rolling out in the next couple of months that I think you're all going to love.
Right on. So off to episode 48, Rebecca Peters, Renee Thornton, Women Hunt. Enjoy the listen.
Across Canada and throughout the world, if you come across a campfire in the woods, on a mountaintop, or next to a river, you'll find warm company and friendly people gathered around. Regardless of your lifestyle or place you call home, we invite you to learn more about what it means to be a hunter in the modern era. If you love the outdoors, care about where your food comes from, and are concerned for the future of wildlife and the environments that they need to survive, pull up a seat. We have a story to tell. Welcome to our campfire.
Ladies, good day. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on Talk is Sheep.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, really exciting. So you guys are back home back, I guess, from your big week in Texas. So you had Women Hunt. I guess that was your inaugural event, and that happened this past week. Renee, can you talk a little bit about the timelines for us? How long you guys were in Texas for, and what was involved with the week you spent there?
Yeah, sure thing. We spent coming on close to a week there. The 12 women that the Women Hunt Committee selected from across Canada and the U.S. flew down or drove up, if they were from Texas, to San Antonio on September 30th. And we all met at the hotel we were staying at that night, and walked over to a great little Mexican restaurant for a group dinner, where we had the chance to kind of get to know each other a little bit better, following an earlier Zoom call where we met remotely. But so we joined up Thursday night, had a nice dinner, and then early Friday morning loaded up into some vans and with all our gear and drove the 3 hours out to the FTW Ranch in Hill Country near Barksdale, Texas. And from there, the course officially started that afternoon. That Friday afternoon, we did, Rebecca, I think it was 3 hours of classroom or 4 hours of classroom to start. And then, and then everybody jumped in Jeeps and had a ranch orientation with the instructors and staff, which was a lot of fun. And then we went into 4 days of intensive training for the 12 women, and then departed on the Wednesday, the 6th. That's sort of the timeline there, Kyle.
Wow, very cool. So, what a great week in Texas it sounds like, and I've got to see some pictures, and I've talked a little bit about things with Gray, and got to hear a little bit about it. So, Rebecca, you were chosen to attend this. You were one of the 12 women that Women Hunt selected. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit of the process for you? I want to talk about the week itself, but before we get there, maybe share with us a little bit of the selection process and kind of, we've heard Renee's side of it in the earlier podcast in terms of, their selection process, but I'd like to hear kind of from you as a applicant and your process on how you approached it and how you heard about it and how you learned about it and that sort of thing, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Originally, I wasn't really sure if I would be selected because, I'm not new to hunting, but I do consider myself to be a new hunter. So with the selection process, there was a series of questions. I think that there was about 7, that was ranging from anywhere to how can you contribute to wildlife and conservation? What does it mean to you to be an ethical hunter? And, who's inspired me along the way? And so there were really good questions. And, it took me a couple days to kind of think about and understand how I wanted to answer them. And, I wanted to be as open and as vulnerable as I could, which of course invokes the truth. So I really enjoyed the process, and it allowed me to kind of tap in a little bit deeper to what I was feeling to be what was important to me, and to figure out if I was ready for this program. And, in writing my answers, it was really clear to me that I was super excited, and I wanted to be a part of this big movement. And I call it a big movement because it is. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity for me, and especially being in my mid 40s. So I submitted my application, and later on that evening, I said to my husband, Colin, I said, if I don't get selected, I'm just extremely grateful to have the opportunity to just fill out the forms and, answer the questions. And it was really nice to share that with like-minded women. And I just really wanted to trust in the process. And I said, either way, whether I'm selected or not, 12 amazing women are going to Texas. And, that's how I really felt. And so I kind of just left it at that.
So now with the selection process itself, I guess you fill out the application form and then you were just waiting to hear, was there a long wait or did you hear fairly quickly? How did that evolve for you?
I feel that it wasn't an extremely long wait. I think I sent my application on the 27th of July, and then we found out, I believe, on the 20th of August. I could be wrong with my dates, but it was an early morning. It was Friday. My husband and I, we get up early. We go to the gym. We had a busy weekend planned, actually. We were volunteering at the Jurassic Classic, which is, of course, another amazing fundraiser for wildlife awareness. And I saw this email come in, and it was from Women Hunt. And, Colin was standing in the kitchen, and I said, why don't you come and sit down with me, and I'll read the email out loud. And so he sat with me, and I read the first sentence, and it was something like, we are pleased to advise you that you've been selected. And then I couldn't even finish the rest. Tears just rolled down my face. And I looked over at Colin, and he had tears in his eyes. And we just sat there for a moment in those words. And it was so amazing to know that I was going to go to Texas and that I had been selected. And, I'm not going to lie, I already felt like it was like a big accomplishment for me, just knowing that I was selected and accepted. And it was extremely exciting.
Well, fantastic, Rebecca, and congratulations to you. And for our listeners, the Wild Sheep Society BC, Rebecca was kind of, I guess, a representative of our organization. Of course, the Women Hunt Program selected different women from across North America, but then chapter and affiliates from the Wild Sheep Foundation were basically kind of, I guess, Renee, is co-sponsoring the correct word for it? Maybe can you just talk a little bit about that, on how that worked? And it sounds like every chapter and affiliate, every woman there, were they sponsored by a chapter and affiliate as well, or sort of supported by a chapter and affiliate?
Yeah, yeah, I suppose you could say co-sponsoring, supporting, any number of words could work. Basically what we did is we designed the program primarily to support the women of the Wild Sheep Foundation and its chapters and affiliates. It was open to everybody, but that's where we were concentrating our promotion of the program and the opportunity. So we approached all the CNAs and asked you all to help us out by getting the word out, and which you all did fabulously. And we received close to 50 applications. And part of the deal was, the chapters and affiliates had a couple of things we expected from them if we chose somebody from their area. First one was helping us out financially with a bit of a bump to help offset some of the costs. And then offering the person a 1-year membership to their chapter or affiliate if they weren't already one. And then the biggest key piece for me, and I think for the women who were selected, was finding a great mentor for that woman to work with her for at least 1 year after the course. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We didn't want a single one of these people to be left behind after coming out of the course. We wanted them to hit the ground with a mentor, have somebody they could rely on, talk to. And so the chapters and affiliates that are involved, the ones that we selected women from, have all stepped up and just been really great in all of those aspects. So yeah, they're co-sponsors, co-supporters for sure.
Fantastic. Well, such a great program, Renee, and we're so excited to have been part of this, and we hope we can send somebody back in 22 for sure. But so, Rebecca, can we just talk a little bit, I guess, about your experience? So you mentioned you considered yourself a new hunter, that you had been in the field before. Can you talk about your interest in hunting? Like, I think you're an adult onset hunter in the sense that, you didn't grow up in the hunting space, but you've kind of come to it recently. Can you talk about that experience for us and what that's been like before we even jump into the program itself, Women Hunt?
Sure. Yeah. I was introduced to hunting through my husband, Colin. And my first kind of hunting experience was black bear. And it was, I didn't have a hunting license. I was just tagging along. And, it was a crazy adventure. There was big black bears. We were camping in a wall tent and riding around on ATVs. And I've always had a love for the outdoors. I don't come from a hunting background at all. My father was a farmer, so he did a lot of farming and, a lot of shooting on farms and stuff. But that's kind of the extent of my background there. So I really wasn't introduced to it until I met my husband. So.
Cool. So then you were on that first black bear hunt. Do you have a firearms license? Did you do the Corps in BC, or and have you been out had you gone hunting prior to the event? I believe you had, but I don't know the full details. So.
Yeah, I have. I do have my Corps now. I actually do not have my PAL yet because I'm able to hunt with somebody who does have their PAL and their Corps. But that is actually on my list of things to accomplish next. I know that it wouldn't be challenging or difficult to go. I just need to book the course and do it. And so it's something I am going to do. But the times that I have gone out with my husband, I have had my core, and, I'm just there to support him. I loved going outdoors and being outdoors. And I've got to experience actually some really, really cool hunts. Like I went on a sheep hunt with him. I did a goat hunt. So that's pretty exciting to get to be there and see and support him on that journey. Definitely.
Right on. So you've obviously got the experiences of having done the core. You've been out in the field. You know all about it. So obviously you knew everything when you showed up at FTW. You learned nothing, right?
No, that's not true.
So, I've talked to Colin about it, and I heard his experience, and I didn't want to preempt this show by having dialogue with you. I wanted it to be genuine, our dialogue here. So, let's talk about the week. Tell me about, the experience. You can start from when you showed up, on the Friday, what that was like, the Thursday, I guess you guys showed up that night, or, talk us through the experience, and I'm going to get Renee to fill in some spots too, but I want to hear it from your words, from your perspective, Rebecca.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We, like Renee mentioned, we met up for dinner that night, all of us. And, it was the first time that we all met. And I have to be honest, like we kind of just like dove into these conversations, all of us, and just started sharing our adventures and our personal life. And we just connected instantly. Like it was like we had been friends for a really long time, and there was no like weirdness or awkwardness. And so we did that Thursday night and got along. We went back to the hotel later on that night. We all had a really good sleep. Well, some of us did, some of us couldn't because we were really excited. And we got up the next morning. We had some vans that Linda and Renee were going to be driving. Linda Demmer joined us. She's a very accomplished hunter and is part of the Women Hunt Committee. And we got in the vans and we just drove. And I actually didn't, I didn't have a map, so I didn't really know what direction we were going in, but we were all really excited and we were all like ready to get to the ranch. We pulled up, we get out. There actually happened to be some film crew there, and they're taking pictures of us and filming, and we got to check in. It was just so exciting, like to finally be at the ranch with these women and Renee and Linda and everybody involved. I mean, you could just feel the excitement everywhere. And so we had some class introductions, and then later on in the evening, we got to jump in their awesome Jeeps. They're like safari Jeeps, and they took us around the ranch and showed us around, and it was a beautiful, warm evening. And, there was smiles from all the way up to our ears for everybody. Like we were just so ecstatic to be there. And then, we went to bed later on that evening, and again, really super excited to get up for day 2, which we kind of went into rifle cleaning, and then learning about the marksmanship of our rifle, like dialing in from 0 to 100, things I have never learned in my life. Like my husband takes care of my gun. So for me, this was really big for me, even though I'm a new hunter. I wasn't new to hunting. It was the rifles were a big thing for me. And so that was really interesting to learn. And then we got to go out and do some drills, some truing and drills. And, that's where your heart is pounding, because you're just like, wow, this incredible rifle. And then, oh, now I got to shoot it. Like it was very intense and very overwhelming, but in a really, really good way. And so we were at the out on the field and at the drills for about 3 hours. We came back and we did some more classroom work where we kind of talked about gear and what you need to go out on your first hunting trip, and like general discussion that way. And I just want to say, basically, it's a very intense program. You're up early in the morning and you're to bed late at night. And I have to tell you, every morning I was super excited to get up, and every night I didn't want to go to bed. Like I didn't want my days to end. And that's how, how much fun and how much we learned. And it was amazing. And then, so going on to day 3, we did shop placement discussions. We talked about hunting manners and etiquette, some more classroom work. We talked about our range cards and kind of how the wind can affect your shot and your drills. And then we got right back out there and started the drills and shooting again. And we were in prone position, seating position, standing position. I mean, you name it, any position that you're going to probably be in when you're out hunting, right? It's not, easy setup kind of target stuff. You got to learn how to really understand your rifle and hold it well. And so we did that. And then day 3 is when we went on our first evening hunt. And it was really, really exciting. We figured out who our guides were going to be. We buddied up with, we all had our own buddies that we would go hunt with. And that was exciting. And then day 4, we woke up in the morning and we had our hunt. Again, early morning, up at 5, and we went out, and it was just amazing. I mean, the sunsets, the guides, the terrain, the ranch was absolutely beautiful. And so we did that in the morning, and then we came back and we had cooking and wild game with Josh Schwenke. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Am I correct, Renee, when I say that?
Great, yeah.
Okay, good. He was amazing. And so he talked about preparing game meat, like, after you harvest your animal, how you prepare the meat and how you take care of it. And so that was really, really interesting. And then from there on day 4, we went out and did some game field trailing. So, trailing where your animal could be lost or trying to figure out what direction they would go in, kind of like, that show Manhunt where you're checking out all the different areas your animal could go. And then later on that evening, we went out for another hunt. So we got a total of 4 hunts the whole time we were there, 2 mornings and 2 evenings. And then day 5, again, we woke up in the morning, went for another hunt, which was amazing. I mean, I could talk on and on about what went on in these periods where we hunted. And then we went back to the classroom on day 5, and we did kind of like a North American model of wildlife conservation. And Gray led that class, which was amazing. And we watched a video that was done by Becky Humphreys on the 7 principles. Again, we went from there right to the kitchen with Josh and learned how to do sausages and, game meat. Some of the girls were able to be successful in their hunt. And so we had deer, and we were able to use some of that deer meat to make the sausages. And Josh showed us how to do that. We did caping and deboning. And then later on that evening, this is our graduation day, day 5, we did a final shooting drill. And whoa, that was really, really intense. Like you're shooting at 400 yards, then you've got 10 seconds to dial in and shoot at 200. And then you've got another 10 seconds to dial in at 100. And there is like a lot going on. And the difference between, day 2 as to day 5 is all of us women were super confident, like just easy breezy. We didn't always hit our targets, but there was no anticipation left. We knew how to use our finger on the trigger. We were calm, we were collected. And so that was really, really fun way to kind of end day 5 there. And then we had our graduation, which was really exciting too. So lots happened.
Very cool. So with regards to the hunt itself, you guys were they white-tailed deer you were hunting, or what were you hunting, just out of curiosity?
That's correct. White-tailed deer. Cool.
And you guys, so there was a couple successful harvests there that you guys, and then you actually legitimately had the deer, and they talked about skinning and caping and deboning and all that sort of stuff. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, there was out of the 12 women, 5 of them were able to be successful. I was not successful, and honestly, I was okay with that. That was my experience was so amazing and so beautiful, and I was just really just happy for those other women for having that opportunity to to be able to go through the process from beginning to end. So it was pretty cool to watch.
Okay, so this is kind of a bit of a drift, but I remember my first animal being on my first hunt and watching it being harvested and the whole experience of that. For all these women, is this the first time they've ever killed an animal, or had some of them before, or what was the experience with that? I'm just curious because it's such an emotional piece that taking an animal like that. So you've got 12 first-time hunters. They're out, they're in the field, they're experiencing this. What was that experience like? Were there tears shed, or was it, what was that like, I guess?
Well, Renee, I think you can answer that better, because I think a couple of them were new, but some of them I'm not 100%. So
yeah, it was a mixed bag. And when we went through the criteria, when the committee was developing the criteria for the questions we developed, and we worked with Dr. Ryan Brock on the scoring rubric to level the assessment field. We did give room in the scoring mechanism. There was different points assessments depending on whether you had never ever hunted, whether you had hunted in the sense of being an observational person on a hunt, or whether you had harvested maybe one or two or more animals, and there was a gradient in there. So, there were a number of criteria we looked at, not just had you ever hunted, though it was an important aspect. Clearly, we wanted people who were less experienced. So in the 12 women, there was a range of experiences, but they were limited. So we had a couple of women who were bird hunters, but not big game hunters. And for them, that was extremely significant. To make a leap to a mammal was a huge, huge leap for them, right? There were other women like Rebecca who had been out hunting as an observer, and then there were other women who had done none of it at all. So it was a mixed bag, but nevertheless, limited experience.
Okay, very cool. So I'm curious, with FTW, was there any training? Did they talk? So that's one of the things, like as a new hunter, and I think this is relevant now, like I remember going out with my dad and the first animal we harvested, or the first animal that I took, there's that emotional experience of, is that something that was talked about in the course at all, or something they address, or no, is that just sort of, something we live with as hunters? You go out and you have that experience of killing something and coming to terms with it.
Rebecca, do you mind?
No, go for it. Absolutely.
It's absolutely part of the discussions in the classrooms, and Rebecca can talk, of course, more of her firsthand feelings around that, but absolutely. And, these instructors out there, they're retired Navy SEALs. They're as tough as you can get. And they were very vulnerable with this group. I've been to this ranch before. I will tell you that they were different with this group. They were far more vulnerable in what they shared. And I think speaking with the instructors during the course and since, they really loved it. They loved what this particular group of women brought. And so, no, they talked about even their own experiences with their emotions, processing their emotions when they hunt. So it was definitely something that was talked about before they even went out for their first hunt.
Very cool. Yeah. So, I think that's one thing that in my experience growing up, and maybe it was just my family, but, as hunters, it's, we don't talk a lot about that first experience, right? When you're a new hunter and you go out and you harvest something, and the emotional trauma. And it's interesting with my boys, I tried to, coach them, but my youngest son, I think he kind of got turned off of hunting because, maybe I didn't have a good discussion with him ahead of time. And that first experience of harvesting an animal, and then he was just an observer, but watching us process it, it was just too much for him, and he's just not interested whatsoever. He loves the experience, he loves being out there, but he doesn't want anything to do with killing an animal for sure. So I think that's a really important piece of it, is having that dialogue, and that's really good to hear that, that's part of the course and the teaching. And I think it's a really important part of the mentorship piece as well, is making sure we're passing along that information and dealing with the emotional aspect of it, right?
Yeah, for me, I know that some of the hardest part of the hunt is knowing that I am going out there intentionally trying to take something's life. And even from grouse to grizzly bears that I've taken, I always pause after it's down and give a little silent thank you for it giving its life so that mine may continue. And my daughter is 9 now, and you've you've met her, Kyle, and you know that she is passionate about hunting and getting out there, but she feels the same way. She's like, Dad, something died so we can eat, right? I'm like, yeah. So she knows that connection there, and it's a tough one to come to grips with. And I can imagine what it'd be like for a bunch of new hunters coming together that don't really know each other well enough to so much be vulnerable, but knowing that that's part of it, right?
And, with this group of women, because you're talking about, 12 strangers coming together and finding a way to be vulnerable with each other is pretty exceptional. And, to your earlier question, Kyle, when, at least what I observed when there was a successful hunter, the 5 women who were successful, the group was genuinely happy for every one of them. And I didn't see one instance of anything other than that. Yeah. And, I was present for 2 of the successful hunts, and it was the full range of emotions that you would expect from any new hunter, from jitters to being stunned and kind of shocked that it just happened, sadness, joy, like that entire range that we often experience.
Very cool. So Rebecca, for you with this experience, what kind of, like, obviously there was a ton of firearms training, but the deboning, the caping, and just the classroom stuff. What was probably the most valuable tool you took away from all of that? Was it the firearm comfort level, or what stands out as probably the most? And I know the list goes on and on, but what would stand out kind of as the big one for you?
It really does. The whole program was amazing. And, I really had to think about kind of, if there is something that stands out a little bit more. For me, like, we all came in with different ideas and, different fears and stuff. But for me, it was shooting my rifle. I have never felt comfortable shooting a rifle. And it's not that, Colin didn't try to help me learn. And the recoil of the gun, the fact that you could hurt something or someone, like all of those things. And so for me, it was really important to me that I build my confidence back up, that I felt comfortable enough to handle a rifle on my own. I mean, that's a really big deal, especially from like a city girl, right? I didn't grow up with guns and rifles, and, I hate to admit it, but I was very ignorant towards that kind of stuff. I thought, guns kill people, you shouldn't use guns. And that's just not true. It's about being confident. It's about having the knowledge to use these rifles and guns, and feeling, confident and comfortable in your shot. And that's, what it comes down to. And so for me, I was able to get that within probably the first day of shooting. We spent 3 hours and then another 3 hours. And I'm telling you, we came back and we were like zombies in our face. Like, we had paid and put our full heart and soul into learning and to shooting and to listening. And what I got out of that was more than I ever expected. I wasn't really sure if I was going to feel comfortable or not, and I did. And so that was really big for me, really, really big.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, because my buddy Don, right, Kyle? And he, a couple of years ago, he'd done some range time, and he chucked a lot of lead down range, but he wasn't. I'm going to throw him under the bus here. He wasn't a confident shooter. He could hit what he was aiming at most of the time, not under pressure. But he did a sniper course with Rob Furlong, and if you know that name, his claim to fame, he was in the Canadian military, and he held the longest shot sniper kill in history. It was like 2.5 miles or something. It's been beat now. So Rob put on this course, and Don went to it, and it's night and day watching Don now. Like, he's got a bench rifle that I can take a range for him, and he'll go up, tick, 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 and bang, and he's hitting it every time. Or he won't even use a rangefinder. He'll just use something out there that he knows is roughly 2 feet by 2 feet, and then he'll gauge it with his binoculars and go, that looks like it's about that. Dial in his windage, and he'll miss it by a couple inches. Then he'll come up, and over and he's bang on. So it's crazy. I totally get what you're talking about when it comes to being confident and actually knowing your rifle. I didn't hear, do we know what caliber were you guys shooting? You guys remember?
Rebecca was shooting 6.5 Creedmoor.
Oh, okay.
And the left-handed shooters were on 257 Weatherby.
Oh, fast one. Yeah, 6.5 Creed. I've got one. I don't want to say that publicly, but I do. And great round. They're super forgiving. They don't hurt. And like when you're shooting them, like they don't have that scary recoil, but they're accurate. They're fast. They're hard hitting. Kyle used to have one, didn't you?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, you got the PRC then.
So, Rebecca, what's your rifle at home then? What kind of caliber do you shoot? What is your own rifle?
Oh dear, the tough questions. I think it's okay. I'm gonna try to sound smart when I say this, but it's a 7mm.
Okay,
is that right? I'm sorry, I forget sometimes because I don't take it out of the gun safe very often, right? So, that's what I have right now.
So now, for you, Rebecca, with regards to the course, and you think back, and obviously, there's so much to it, but is there anything that stands out as a highlight for you? I think I know where you're going to go with this one, but I'd like to hear what really stands out for you for the weekend or for the week.
Again, that's a really tough one. I just want to say everything stands out for me, but, like, every morning and every minute was exciting. And I have to say, though, that our very first hunt was like a big highlight for me. We got to find out who our instructor or guide was going to be. We got to buddy up, and it was just the anticipation of I love being outdoors. So for me, just getting out there and just being with nature and wildlife and just getting to see all of these beautiful species and, being in a new place out in Texas. I mean, it was gorgeous. And I felt really blessed to get out there and go and be selected to come out to this ranch. I mean, they were amazing at the ranch. And so another highlight of that was because also I felt really confident on my rifle. I was ready. I was ready. I had, wasn't thinking about anything other than the hunt and being confident and open to the situation. I also went into my hunt being very open that, I might not be successful, and that's okay. Like, that is literally okay. I put absolutely no pressure on myself because that was the experience I wanted. And so, I also actually had the opportunity to hunt with Renée Thornton. He was able to come out on one of our hunts. So that was, pretty cool being around, other accomplished hunters. So.
Very cool. So from your perspective, Renee, you as the Women Hunt chair, what's your perspective? Like, such a great weekend. The feedback's been phenomenal. I've heard you talk about it. But what stands out for you? What kind of is a highlight for you? What do you reckon for you is the biggest success in your mind with the week in Texas?
Well, let me just start by saying that, I had expectations that this was going to be a great experience and a great event, but it blew every expectation I had cleanly out of the water. And I could not believe the instant connection between these women and then watching their development. I'd like to kind of answer this question if you give me a couple minutes, because it was tremendous to see their connection right off the bat that first night, and then it just kept growing from there. And I had a lot of time over that 5 days, of course, observing all of them, and kind of trying to piece together how was it possible that 12 women who were all very different from one another, their answers were different on their application questions, their backgrounds were different, their demographics were different. If you're talking about age and geography and all of it, these were all very different women, and yet here they were, all drawn to the same possibilities it's still a fascinating question that I'm rolling around in my head. What drew them all to this? But I want to really compliment. I'd just like to take a second to compliment my committee for really having come up with very, very thoughtful and challenging questions, and these women for the effort they put into their applications. And we had lots of great applications, and narrowing it down to the 12 was tough. But I think that it actually speaks volumes. How we selected the women is really the reason why everything was as spectacular as it was. Sometimes when we bring a group of strangers together, there can always be that sense of weirdness, or somebody is not quite there with the rest or something. There was none of that. So I'd really like just to tip my hat to my committee for their efforts and making sure that our goal of picking 12 exceptional women, happened. And so for me, as I watched the course unroll, having gone through the journey of an adult onset hunter myself and all of its variations, it was such a joy, a tremendous joy for me to watch the progression of all these women. And the biggest piece for me was, my deep desire that the 12 of them would come out at the end of it, not just happy, but, absolutely dedicated to this concept of being a hunter, being a conservationist, understanding the relation between the two, being ambassadors, quite frankly, not just ambassadors of the Wild Sheep Foundation and the Women Hunt Program, but ambassadors for all of our roles in the conservation of wild animals and wild places. And they took that deep desire and they took it up like another notch, because every single one of them is absolutely all in on giving back, which, when we talk about the journey of a hunter, that usually doesn't come till quite a bit later. You want to do your own thing first for a while, but, we challenge them a little bit and ask them to think about that early on. And they came up in spades. So I'm not sure if that helps you out, Kyle, in answering your question, but really it's just that whole tremendous impact for me is the greatest thing that I saw.
Wow. Yeah, for sure, Renee. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. And just, it's so exciting to hear, that you had a vision for your program, and then you bring it together and you execute on it and you see the outcome, and to speak about it now in that regard, it's just a testament to the program itself and what you're doing and this environment you're creating. And, it's funny, I've had this dialogue with you. I think one of the first times I met you, Sheep Show, a number of years ago, we had this discussion about you and being a new hunter and trying to find your way and how challenging it was. Could you imagine if this program existed for you when you were starting out, right? So really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And big kudos to the FTW Ranch for diversifying their business model somewhat to introduce this course. And also a big thanks to them for, inviting me out back in February to observe it. And they listened to my feedback of where I saw a couple of areas that I personally would want to see tweaked, particularly for a group of new hunters, all brand new hunters and women. And, Rebecca touched on it earlier, that on the last day we had a conversation on the North American model of wildlife conservation. That was slotted for an hour discussion. We had this 25-minute long video with Becky delivering the model. And also she talked at length about the role that women played in early conservation at the turn of the 19th century and early 20th century. And, we ended up post watching the video, Gray talked in a little bit more depth about the 7 sisters or the 7 pillars of the model. And then it was open for questions and discussion. And we blew that hour. We were pushing over 2 hours, and the instructors were being super patient because unbelievably, they weren't even aware of the model. I can't believe that. And they were just fascinated to hear about it. And there was great discussion, in a whole range of topics. Something as benign as Why do people say harvest instead of shoot or kill? Like, I know the questions were all over the place, and it was a very valuable discussion. And so I'm grateful to the ranch for allowing us to tweak their course and allowing us to specialize certain sections of it for what was important to the Wild Sheep Foundation and this Women Hunt program.
Yeah, very cool. So on the conservation angle, I wanted to dive into that a little bit anyway. So let's go there now. So Rebecca, I've seen in one of your photos, you had a Shane Mahoney and Dr. Valerius Geist book, the North American Wildlife Model. Obviously, that was a gift. The foundation, that's Shane's new book that's out, and Dr. Geist as well. Did you guys dive into that? I'm guessing you haven't read it yet. You got a copy of it. Is that something they gave you guys, or how does that work?
Correct. Yeah, it is something that we received. I haven't dived into it, but we did talk, like Becky Humphreys did a video. She's with the National Wild Turkey Federation, and she talked at length about the 7 principles of the North American model. And, the collective impact of these principles was to rescue and restore like imperiled species to the abundance of North America. And so we went through 1 to 7, and we were able to like talk about it briefly, but of course not at length. Like Renee said, we really did dive into this classroom work, and it was pretty amazing to talk about. And I'm really excited to dive into that book as well, because it's I really appreciate getting that as a gift, because I'm not sure if I would have known where to go and get it on my own as a new hunter. And so to have somebody give that to me and offer it to me, that's amazing. And I can't wait to dig in and read it and, really start to understand all of this, because it's still very, very new to me, regardless of, how many years I've watched call and hunt. I get to do this on my own and make it my own, and in any fashion that I want to do it. And so that's pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting. I'm so glad to know Renee, that was part of the program, because that model, Shane's model, and I guess he doesn't take credit for it, but, him and Dr. Geist, championed the program itself. It's such an important talking piece especially for people outside our community, right? When you talk to the non-hunter and, I know the 4 of us on here, we're all diehard conservationists. We believe in conservation. We believe in wildlife, and, articulating that model to the non-hunter is so important. And anytime, anyone ever kind of chastises, what hunters do or what we do in the field, all you need to do is start talking about that model and people shut up, and there's not much they can say about it, right? They can pick pieces apart, but if you use that model as a defense, there's nothing they can say, especially what we collectively have done as a hunting community.
You're absolutely right. And, part of the reason why it was so critically important for me to have this as a part of our curriculum is because in the beginning of my journey, I didn't know about this model. And I had a hard time articulating to non-hunters or people who struggled to understand why I was making these choices. And sometimes I really fumbled it. And, whether I just didn't articulate it well, or sometimes I got a little angry, or however I reacted to the conversations. And so, when I became more deeply involved with organizations like Wild Sheep Foundation and beyond, and started to learn about there was an actual model that can explain why hunting supports wildlife conservation, it changed how I was able to have the discussions. And I think, for me, such an important part for I wanted these 12 new hunters to be able to leave the course, have something that they could refer to, also have had the conversation in the classroom, and at least be able to start that in a more articulate manner than I ever was at the beginning. And I just saw, I don't think we can put enough emphasis on that for all of us. And they just embraced it, which was awesome.
Very cool. So Renee, there's the video that Becky Humphreys composed for you guys. Is that something that will be shared on the foundation's website, or it'd be great to share that with listeners for other people that maybe want to share the same story? Is that out there, or how does that work?
Yeah, it sure will be. So if I'll take this minute to just say that the Women Hunt program has a presence now on social media separate from the Wild Sheep Foundation's platforms. And so you can find us on Facebook, Women Hunt Program. You can find us on Instagram at women_hunt. And then we have a YouTube channel as well now. And that video just got loaded. And we're just going to be preparing a social post to launch that YouTube channel and start pointing people there. And you know, we anticipate using that video in different applications. When the Women Hunt program is finally done developing its own web platform, I know we spoke about that the last time I was on the podcast. You know, we'll have it housed there as well as on YouTube. It'll get posted on our social platforms as well. And also at the Sheep Show 2022 in Reno, we're going to have our standard Saturday afternoon Women Hunt seminar. And this year it's going to look and feel very different than the last two iterations. And I expect that we will have that video playing on a loop at some point that afternoon.
Very cool. So that was one of the questions I had for you is, you know, Rebecca, you mentioned that you got out of the van and there was a film crew there. Obviously, you did a great job of documenting the week, Renee. Are you guys telling a story about this? Is there videos coming out? What is that going to look like? What are we going to see as somebody that's looking in on the program?
Yeah, so great question. So yes, we worked with this film company. We asked them to do a few different things for us. So one, they captured the entire event, both video and photography for us. They're going to be producing a film for us that will be premiered at the Sheep Show in 2022. That is going to be a shorter duration film. You know what those banquets are like. You don't want to play anything for too long. You need to keep people's attention. But you know, it's going to be edited in such a way to tell the story in the most concise but compelling way possible. I anticipate that there might be a longer production that we're going to do that will be give us the flexibility to put it up on the YouTube channel or otherwise, where we can really more explore these 12 women in particular and their journeys. As well, you know, we've been using their content for social posts, along with the content of the women who were there and participating, like Rebecca, and they've been really active on social. And so we're using it there. And beyond that, I'm not entirely sure, but the sky's the limit. We just have unbelievable quantity of content from that film crew. So.
Fantastic. That's awesome to have all that, and I can't wait to see more from Women Hunt and all the great work you guys are doing. I'm really excited about that show for Sheep Show as well. Now, Rebecca, can you just touch a little bit for us? I guess one more piece of the weekend. I know this is a big part of it, is the camaraderie aspect. There was 12 women from all over that came together, and you talked about the buddy system. Just talk about the camaraderie aspect of it. And then I want to talk a little bit about kind of your next steps here for you as a hunter, what you got planned for trips coming up. But let's touch in on that a little bit. Just, you know, who you were paired up with, what that was like, and kind of that aspect of it, the social aspect of it, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think I said this in the beginning. It was really exciting to meet everybody. You know, we instantly connected, and I mean with everybody. And I made sure, like, I wanted to make sure that I went around and talked to everybody right away. Right. I didn't want to, you know, sometimes you connect with people or you're just shy. Some people are shy, some people aren't, but I really wanted to put myself out there, and I really just wanted to go and talk to people right away so we could just, you know, just connect. And so I felt like that we had been friends for a long time. I really did. And it was just this instant connection that Renee and the Women Hunt Committee gave us right away. And it was through the selection process, and we just connected. And it was really, really beautiful to see. And, you know, we dove into these conversations, we shared adventures, we talked about our personal lives, like things I would never tell anybody that I just met, right? But you know that what you're saying to them, that they're going to hold it close to their heart, and you can entrust that stays with them. And so I just super grateful for this opportunity. And I wanted to go into these experiences and these interactions with people I didn't want to have any preconceived notions. I just wanted to be open and present and just really be in that moment. I know that kind of sounds fluffy duffy, but it's what I wanted in my experience. And I wanted it to be as truthful as it was going to be. And so, the ladies were amazing. And can I just quickly mention their names? Like I just feel like I want them to be a part of this, even though they're not on the show. I know that kind of sounds silly, but Laura was
great.
Laura was my hunting buddy, and we had so much fun together. She was a blast. And then there was Stelaine, April, Brandy, Briella, Tiffany, Stacy, Rena, Danny, Catherine, Bree, and then myself, and then Linda Demmer. And so, like Renee mentioned, we're talking people from all walks of life, different locations, different ages. We were giggly and tearful and focused together. And I really feel that I have 14 new women friends. And there is no doubt in my mind that we will be friends forever. And I just don't know where you get that type of experience from ever in your life. And so for me, that was really touching, and I try not to cry. So I'm going to just stop it there, but it was really beautiful.
That's very cool. And you just hear the passion in your voice, the enthusiasm, the excitement, which is amazing. And the cool thing is you're always going to have that touch point of Sheep Show, right? Like a lot of, obviously all these women are going to be drawn to the foundation now, and Sheep Show is ever present. So this is such a great opportunity. And then coupled with the fact that Women Hunt is going to keep you guys all connected as well, right? So it's such a cool opportunity to not just have that experience, but to have that opportunity to continue to interact as you move forward as well.
Yeah, and Kyle, on the topic of the connection these women formed, and now their connection to Wild Sheep Foundation and Sheep Show, we've invited all of them to come and volunteer at Sheep Show 2022. There's always a need for volunteers at the show, and I don't know for sure the final number yet. There is one person who's not able to make it because she already had a scuba diving trip to Belize booked and paid for. So she's not going to be there. But I believe the majority, if not all 11, pretty close, are going to be at Sheep Show, giving back a ton of their time, helping out in all the different capacities of running that show, from membership to the store to, running auction slips and all sorts of things. And of course, for me, helping out at the Women Hunt seminar on the Saturday. So, people will get a chance to meet most of the women, and they're going to be demonstrating in real time, the art of giving back.
That is awesome. Such a great story, Renee. Just so cool. And so are we going to get a formal introduction at the Women Hunt seminar in 22 at Sheep Show, or not necessarily?
A formal introduction to the 12 women?
Yeah,
or the women
exactly.
present? I'll put that down as, member requested introductions.
Okay. Very cool.
Yes, I'm sure that we will have something set up so people can get to know them for sure.
Cool. So now moving forward, obviously we know they're going to come and support you, support conservation at Sheep Week, Sheep Show. But where to now for the women, I guess, and that's dual pronged. So Renee, from a organizational perspective or a Women Hunt perspective, where do the women go from here, the 12 women? And then Renee, Rebecca, I want to talk to you about your next steps as a hunter and where you go from there. So Renee, if you want to just touch on that, what's next for these 12 women?
Sure. So, their personal journey is going to be fascinating to follow, and I'm so excited to see what happens. And so from an organizational perspective, right now we're entering now into this post-course zone of mentorship. So I have almost all of the names of the mentors that have been assigned to the 12 women. And I'm starting to have conversations with each of those mentors individually about certain things that we want them to keep in mind through the mentorship period, and also some expectations. They have to be available to take a couple of calls over the course of the year from the committee to do a check-in with them. So, I'm just going to be handling those calls with the mentors. And then really from there, it's up to these women and where they choose to take their their journey into hunting and conservation. And, with these mentors that have been assigned to them, who I will just tell you that the 9 that I've heard from or spoken to are so excited. So the mentors are really on board with this. And I think we're going to see great things.
Fantastic. So, Rebecca, let's talk about your journey now. So you've, relatively new to hunting. You've been out in the field. You've got all this experience now. Here we are, October of 21, prime hunting season in British Columbia. So where do you go from here? What does your journey look like? And maybe touch on your mentor as well, and how that fits into the Women Hunt program.
Right. So my mentor will be Colin. He's my husband, and since I've been back, I've touched on a few things with him that I would like to accomplish and that I would like to commit my time to within the next year. And one of them is being able to pack all of my gear. I mean all of it from beginning to end, and understand and research the regions that I'm going into in British Columbia, which we all know as hunters is extremely important. You need to know the regulations and everything that's going on, and so that's obviously important to me. And I want to be able to have the confidence, which I think I do, to shoot and to harvest my own animal and to skin and gut the animal. Those are very important to me. And we do have a moose tag coming up November 1st. And I've chatted with Colin and I've asked, and he's agreed that if the opportunity presents, I would be the first shooter. And so that's, if you know my husband, that's really exciting that he's going to actually give that to me, because sometimes he just pushes me out of the way. But in all seriousness, I'm super excited and grateful because, as we all know, these types of tags don't come easily. So this is really big for me, and it has come at the perfect time, right after this course where I have gained so much confidence and just had a life-changing experience, and now I get to put it to the test. Now I get to go out and do that on my own. And I know that a moose is a big animal, but I'm ready and I'm willing and I'm extremely dedicated. So, and yeah,
that was my first big game animal. Was a moose, so it's intimidating.
Yes.
Yeah, you walk up to it and you go, "Oh damn, what did I do?"
Well, for sure, Rebecca, that's amazing. And well, congratulations on that. That's really exciting that you're going to be out in the field using all these skills that you've learned and have the opportunity to use them. And that's an important part of, the hunting discussion, right? Is who gets to pull the trigger first, right? It's always, and there's been many a hunting partner lost over that very question or a lack of understanding or communication on that very issue, right? So, I'm really excited. And, I'd love for you to share that journey with us. And, you're kind of our, candidate or whatever for Women Hunt through the Wild Sheep Society of BC, that part of this initiative. So I'd love for you to share your story with us, and we'd love to see that progression. And I know our listeners would too. I know that on our social media channel, when we shared your story, there was a lot of very encouraging words and a lot of people really excited for you and Women Hunt. So I'd love for you to share that story, and through our social media story channel, we could share some of that as well with, of course, with Renee's permission and stuff. So, okay, well, that's really exciting. I know I've taken a lot of your guys' time today. So let's just kind of, to wrap things up, let's just touch base, Renee. What's on the list for you for Women Hunt? We talked about Sheep Show 22. And anyone that's maybe interested in the program, how do they get involved, and when's the next intake? Are you doing FTW again in 22? What does that look like? Just an overview for us.
Yeah, we've got a lot of heavy lifting coming up, between, making sure these mentorship relationships are set up and established and running. We've made a commitment to stay in touch, formally stay in touch on a quarterly basis with the 12 women, although they're welcome to reach out to us at any time. And we already have group chats and set up on every platform out there. But, and then organizing Sheep Show the work that we're doing on developing our web platform and building relationships with other organizations. I'm going to be diving into that heavily as well. We are going to be partnering with FTW Ranch again for 2022. This just proved to be so unbelievably successful that we seized the opportunity. They had some dates available for us in October, and we took it. So we're really looking forward to that. I do not have yet information on what mechanism we're going to use to screen what I'm sure is going to be an avalanche of applications. And I don't have a date yet of when we're going to launch that screening process, but we will be communicating that on our social media platforms, as well as on our temporary presence on the Wild Sheep Foundation's website, which we're at the same site we've all been using through this process. So wildsheepfoundation.womenhunt.org. But look for us mostly on social, I think, to find updates there. And, we're really, really excited about the next go around. And then, more than that, we want to find other ways that we can also engage even more people beyond, this particular limited group of 12. And so that's where the relationship building I was referencing earlier will really come in, working with other like-minded partners and having different types of activities available.
Wow, very exciting. Congratulations to you, Renee, on a successful week at your inaugural Women Hunt event. And Rebecca, just so thrilled for you that you were able to participate in this. And thank you for representing the Wild Sheep Society BC, and just to both you women for the work that you guys do in the conservation community. It's phenomenal. You guys are always stepping up and volunteering and giving your time. So, it's really an honor to be associated with what you guys are doing here. And I think you guys are such great stewards for Women Hunt and just for conservation in general. So thank you both for all you do.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Hey, can I just add something, by the way? Do you know who won this year's King of 2 Miles competition in the States?
No.
It was a woman named Lindsay Paul. She's the first queen of the King of 2 Miles competition. 2 mile shot. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
The criteria was you have to be able to make the 2 mile shot 3 consecutive times, and she was the only competitor capable of doing it this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Phenomenal.
Yeah. So I just had to share that.
Incredible.
That was great. Yeah. Can I actually just share one last thing as well? Would that be okay?
Absolutely, Rebecca.
And Renee, I think I speak on behalf of all 12 of us women that this program has created the confidence that we've all needed to move forward and to give back in the best way we can. And we thank you so much. I mean, the program was so impactful and it's changed our lives forever. And you and the committee, and thank you so much for your dedication and your time and your hard work. To have other women look out for other women is pretty special and beautiful. And so thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You're very welcome. And for the 12 of you who've all told me that your lives have been changed, so has mine by knowing all of you. So thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome, ladies. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.